Good afternoon, it's Lee Cassidy from Tactile Technology. Another one of our 10K SB, so the 10,000 program from Goldman Sachs Small Business, focused at UK business, have been through the program. We normally do these at 3 o'clock on a Thursday, but because our guests can't make 3 o'clock, we've brought it forward an hour and we're doing it at 2 o'clock today. It's good to learn about these businesses and understand a bit more about what they do. But we've got a couple other events coming up as well. So first of all, today we've got Darya, who's going to join us with a portfolio of businesses. But when she went through the Goldman Sachs program, it's predominantly around her creperie business, but she's going to tell you a little bit more about other areas that she works at the moment. We've also got next week on Tuesday, but this is a potential interview, because they've interviewee, the guest, Rachel Gould, who started working with us on Mondays. Not too sure about whether she wants to be interviewed, but I've got a bit of time between now and next Tuesday, and hopefully I can convince her it's the right thing to do. So we'll see about that. And then finally, next week, we've got another Small Business 10,000 program member, James Tweedy of Coracle Online, will be joining us as well, and go through his experiences with the program and how it's influenced him and his business going forward. So let's bring in our guest. How are you then, Darya?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me here. How are you?
No problem at all. Yeah, so the key thing for us to really start with is understand a bit about your experience as a business person and also your businesses prior to the Goldman Sachs program. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you were doing before, the types of businesses and what experience you'd had?
Sure. I came to this country 19 years ago. I went to Imperial College, did my master's in risk management and financial engineering, and I worked in finance, I worked in IT, in brokerage company. And when I started to have family, I wanted to spend more time with my children. And then I started to open small, even micro businesses. So I ran Chelsea Swim Spa, it's a baby swimming lessons company. Chelsea Creperie is a small cafe opposite Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. I also rent a few properties on Airbnb and rent house for filming.
Oh, so quite a portfolio then.
Yeah.
So how did you find out about the Goldman Sachs program?
I've done previously startup leadership program. It's for like kind of small, it's a non-profit organization helping small startups to grow. And one of the fellow mentioned the Goldman Sachs program. So I applied and had a few interviews and got accepted.
So, let's talk through the process itself then. So you had some paperwork to fill in. How extensive was that application process?
Well, it was quite rigorous, and DBS checked, and you have to provide all the company's accounts. And it was, to be honest with you, I was a bit surprised, because with Goldman, you always have like 10 interviews, 15 interviews. And I was expecting and preparing for something like this, but I had only, I think, one interview after the application and got accepted. So, yeah.
So not too painful then, but quite rigorous. And so I spoke to a number of people. We were at an event yesterday, and they were talking about a lot of people that go into their programs at Aston University. A lot of them have been through the Goldman Sachs, so they know their businesses that are going to succeed because they've seen these people go through the process with Goldman, and they know how rigorous the process is. So it works quite well. So, you went through the process and were accepted. So which of the cohorts were you on?
So actually last cohort, I just graduated in July this year. So it was cohort 14. And we've been a bit unlucky because we had 2 of our residential via Zoom, but the last one we still managed to go in Oxford.
Yeah, so the first 2, like we went, I was on the first national program a number of years ago. So we went to Leeds University, and then we did some online, then we did a session at Aston University, then more online, then finalised with a piece at Oxford. So you only got to see the final piece, the Oxford section then of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your experience then. So you started on the program itself. You did your Zoom residential and a number of modules. Through the modules, what areas did you find the most rewarding for you as an individual, and also to help you with your portfolio of businesses?
I would say the modules about the leadership, kind of learning that you need to know your strengths and create a well-rounded team around you. And I loved as well the finance, like knowing your numbers, calculating your EBITDA. It was all very useful, and loving as well about the module about the people, where you have to, if you have like a business like a bus, and you need to make sure everyone is in the right seat and actually looking in the right direction. So like many, and I loved as well a few quotes saying that you are the most important asset in your business, and if you are drained, and basically if your cup is not full, you can't pour from an empty cup. So constantly making sure that you're actually not burnt out, I found it very helpful.
Yeah, I'm going to say that there's some really good subjects there. I think the other thing that I found that was quite interesting, that a lot of people work in their business rather than on their business, and that was quite a thing. You need to be looking at the business from the outside world, so stepping back and not being just part of the mechanism, but actually understand how to lead it, I think is a really critical thing, and a lot of people forget that. But like you say, you know, there's no point having a burnt out leader. How can you lead if you've got no energy to drive the business forward? And that's a critical thing. So what the type of business were within your group? So your growth group, was it 4 or 5 people?
Yeah, 4 or 5 people. Unfortunately, it was all through the Zoom. We met once to practice our presentation. It was like fancy event in London, in Four Seasons Hotel, because one of the gentlemen, he's actually he has a membership in the club. So it's fantastic. The people are so like-minded, and we just, yeah, we still keep in touch. But I guess it's not as close as if we would have had more conversations like face to face, not via Zoom.
Yeah, so it would have been good to have more of those face-to-face activities rather than that. But what type of businesses did they have in your growth group?
So one gentleman had a construction business. Another gentleman had a lighting company, like luxury lighting. Another lady, she had a social impact business with her swimsuits. It's kind of made with a sustainable, I don't know, like a plant-based type of thing, and also luxury. So we are all very different, and so many things to learn from each other.
Yeah, so my group, you know, had somebody who did servicing of water pumping equipment for the utilities. We had someone who did sharpening of tools for the metal industry. We had someone who actually had machines that took stumps out of the ground or cut trees down, and we provided all that equipment. And a lady who actually made very expensive cakes. So these are like very, very large ones you'd see at in Dubai when they're very large weddings at multi-thousand pounds, but they did also do smaller cakes as well. But you know, it is diverse, isn't it? Lots of different types of businesses. And what I found, I don't know about yourself, is it didn't matter what type of business you were in, you still had the same problems. It was about people. It was about finance. It was about suppliers and relationships with suppliers, finding customers and building out that relationship with your customers and growing. So everybody had the same problem, whatever type of business they ran. It was exactly the same.
Absolutely.
How did you find? I remember one piece where there's an HR module where they talk about people, you know, doing things they shouldn't in your business. So effectively running their own little micro business on the side when they're supposed to be running your business. How did you find that module? Was that interesting?
Definitely. And I also found basically the module within that module about processes, like the way we hire people. If it's kind of the process is structured, I mean, in any business, I would say people are the most valuable assets, so to speak. And for me, as a business owner, learning that this is my responsibility to hire the right talent. So my social media currently is actually to check Indeed daily and Job Today daily, and that's pretty much what I try to do. So I mean, HR is paramount basically for any business.
Yeah, that's it. And legally, it's an issue. People wise, it's an issue. But I think there's some key things in there, making sure you've got the right people. Like you said, with the analogy about the bus, you've got the right people in the right seats, so they've got the right roles and responsibilities to make the business work, isn't it? So you took these different components. How did you then take that back and put it into your business? Did you, after each module, trying to introduce some of those new ideas into the business? Did you get your staff involved, or did you just say, this is what we're going to do? How did you bring back that new learning and introduce it into your businesses?
So I delegated more. Before, I was like kind of preparing the rota every week and micromanaging a few bits. And by kind of trying to work on my business rather than in my business, I stepped back. I made sure that I have the right people. I told them about the idea, about the business growth plan, and where we are going. And we are still trying to implement a few bits and bobs. It's early days. We'll see. We'll chat in 5 years, I guess, where it would take us.
Yeah, I can say it's all the time. You've got to introduce new ideas, see if they work. If they don't, you change it. So it's
Exactly.
You've been in business yourself a while, so you just got to keep trying, haven't you, and see what works. So so we've started to introduce things. We come to the end of it. You've graduated quite recently, and how have you found it afterwards? Have you interacted with many other businesses through the alumni and through the application that's available?
Yes, I had lunches with a few because we are all in London and we are quite diverse. I love the conversation with a gentleman who was accountant, and he wanted to open his own company, and he bought a business, and he was looking to buy a business, unsexier the better. And he runs a company which is called Just Loose, like Just Toilets. And we were chatting, and I was complaining that hospitality is like I'm swimming in red waters. I want to be more in blue waters, and telling him that his idea about the basically unsexy is a fantastic idea, and I think he is in blue waters. And he was saying like, no, me, I'm more in the brown like waters. And so I mean,
very appropriate for the industry.
yeah, exactly. And so amazing people. I am a people person, so I would love to attend even more events, and I will try to make more efforts to see other people.
Yeah, because I've found the alumni very, very supportive. You can go out there and ask questions if you're not sure about a particular way to do things, or you're trying to research something. Like at the moment, we're looking for a new CRM platform, customer relationship management. So I've been out and asked a few people what they're using, what they've found it. So at least you know the ones not to look at, as well as potentially some to look at, rather than it being everything out there to be looking at. So that's quite useful. And I think sometimes just working with other people to understand how they can help you and you can help them is quite useful as well. Even though you're not buying or selling from each other, but it's extending your network reach into other people's networks, which I think is really important as well. So your growth plan. So part of the process, you come up with a growth plan. I know it was on one of your businesses. We'll talk about the others in a second again. But did you implement that growth plan, and has it helped in any way?
My growth plan was basically we have a massive commercial kitchen in the basement of our creperie. So my growth plan idea was to actually do the biscuits and gingerbread man wholesale. So we are testing this idea, and at the moment in hospitality, it's like crisis with hiring. So we are kind of doing it baby steps, I would say. Christmas will show. We launched our Shopify website where we're trying to sell the biscuits, even kind of buy one, give one model, meaning that every biscuit you buy from us, we give one to homeless people or people in need. I also wanted to mention that I was a bit surprised that in Goldman Sachs, they didn't really mention the lean startup idea, meaning that, of course, everyone on that program is past the startup stage. But I think even for the business growth plan, it's so important to have this kind of, to be agile, to test the idea baby steps and see if it's kind of valuable in this economic situation. So I'm doing it the lean way, my business growth plan. And in this very moment, because it's so hard to hire, I don't think this idea would grow like crazy. Yeah.
Well, in hospitality, there's been a lot of changes, hasn't there, because of the pandemic? And if you look at how it's affected those in the food industry specifically that had restaurants, a lot of them have gone towards these ghost kitchen ideas.
Yeah.
So they effectively operate in a commercial environment with no front of house at all, and it's purely for delivery. So there's been a big change in the hospitality because of that, and there's a big growth in that space as well, isn't there? So you've done some of that, as part of what you're trying to achieve with your business anyway. So tell us a little bit more about your other businesses then, because like you said, you've got an Airbnb business. You've also got a swimming business for small children. So how are those being affected by the pandemic? How are they growing now as we seem to be edging out of the back of that pandemic?
Absolutely. So the Chelsea Swim Spa, the baby swim school, was closed during pandemic, but now it completely bounced back, and we are pretty much figures pre-pandemic. For the creperie, actually, it was the best year ever during pandemic because of the government help, because we are opposite the hospital, because of furlough. So basically, we never closed during pandemic. We always stayed open for takeaway and Deliveroo. I guess in Chelsea, it's a very specific area where people, they don't cook. So they love takeaway. And we also try to utilize our space in the creperie to convert it into like a small shop. So we try to, you have to be agile, flexible. With Airbnb, and with short term, we kind of, it was difficult, but because we have a parking space, we were able to still, basically, if we adjust the prices, you still have tenants booking in. So, and even filming, we've done quite a few bits and bobs, but now with filming, it's restarting. So it was overall, I would say, I feel lucky and blessed to still be able to, be where I am.
Yeah, because a lot of organisations have gone very differently, and it's been major impact, especially in the air travel. It's really affected a lot of those businesses. If they didn't have that built-in financial resilience, they've been really challenged over this last 18 months. And it'd be interesting to see what the future brings as well. We're not out of the woods yet, are we? It's going to take a while for some of those industries to come back. But we're seeing fledgling starts for people to be wanting to do things more. So that's really good that things are moving on. So going forward, what's the future hold then for you? I believe you want to get into angel investing, you mentioned earlier.
I do, and I believe lovely businesses who've been on 10K SB, whoever is raising money, I would love to back them up. I had a lunch a few weeks ago with a lovely girl, Gemma. She runs Airbnb for schools. So basically, she all the schools who has empty spaces in the evenings or on weekends, they rent their space for language schools, for physical activity schools for other kids. So she runs this company, and she's, I think, top 30 under 30. So I had a conversation with her, and I would love to potentially invest. And I've been looking into angel investing even before joining the program, and I had a conversation with one of the guy who was with me on the program, but completely randomly. So he runs a bilingual nurseries, Mandarin, English. My kids are trilingual, French, Russian, and English. So I'm kind of a massive believer in bilingual education. So he's massively growing now, but I think he raised investments. So, but I'm kind of want to do it also baby steps. And if I hear anyone, I would be very happy to chip in.
Yeah, I'm bilingual in English and technology, because a lot of people see technology as like another language. So that's my two, and a little bit of German because I lived in Germany in the past. But it's been lovely to get to understand what you've been doing with your business, and also the benefit the Goldman Sachs program had on you and your business. So would you recommend people to go to join the program yourself?
100%. I love the program. I love the people. I think this idea of stepping back to step up, to reflect, to kind of improve yourself as a leader, I mean, it was invaluable for me. And to be honest with you, every person who might be qualified, I totally recommend.
All right, well, thank you very much for joining us today. And say hopefully a number of people are going to see this video and be encouraged to join on the program. We'll push it out through lots of different social channels. We've gone out today on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn Live. So hopefully a number of people hear about you and what you've done. You know, maybe interested in working with you, especially if you're looking to do angel investing. Also, people might want to learn about the program and get involved. We've had a few little tickers on while we're going along. If anybody who's been on the program would like to tell people about their experiences, please contact us. We'd love to interview people at the Goldman Sachs program. We also do a session on a Tuesday normally, but we've run out of guests recently where we interview people about just their business who have not been involved with the Goldman Sachs program, especially ones in enterprise type businesses, because we focus a lot of what we do in that enterprise space. So we'd like to speak to those type of industries as well. But thank you very much for your time today. It's been great to get to know you, and hopefully we'll bump into one of the alumni events in the future.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Bye. So just thank everybody for joining us today, and make sure that you join us for one of the other events. So next week we've got Rachel on the 12th at 3 p.m. and we've got James Tweed on at 3 p.m. on Thursday the 14th as well. So make sure you join us for those, and hopefully you'll get to see how the program has impacted other people, and how you can get involved in it by contacting either Rachel or myself and getting involved in one of these interviews. Thank you very much.